That was all about still wines. Let us see how sparkling wines are made. Unique thing about sparkling wine is, they are bottled with carbon dioxide. The world-famous champagne is a sparkling wine. It's the champagne making process which left a massive impact on the production of sparkling wine in the rest of the world. Traditional method of making champagne is the most popular method of production of sparkling wine. It is lengthier, but the best. Eventually other methods were invented to reduce tenure of production. Apart from the champagne method, there are 3 other methods of production of sparkling wine. Method cuvée clos, transfer method, and method gazify. Let us study all of these. Now let us go through other methods of making sparkling wine. Method cuvée clos or Chermit method. It is also called bulk method, or closed tank method. In this method, the wine undergoes secondary fermentation in the sealed tank, filtered, and bottled under pressure. Next method is transfer method. In this method, the secondary fermentation takes place inside the bottle, which is then chilled and transferred into a pressurized tank. The wine is then filtered and bottled under pressure. In addition to previous methods, another method of making sparkling wine is method gazify. In this method, addition of CO2 takes place externally. CO2 is pumped into chilled wine, under pressure. It is the quickest and cheapest method of all. The large bubbles disappear once the wine is poured into the glass. The champagne method. This method is also known as method classico. It is carried out in 2 distinct steps. First step is primary fermentation. And second step is secondary fermentation. Primary fermentation happens in wooden tank. Steps involved in primary fermentation are similar to the steps of making white wine. Once primary fermentation is completed, secondary fermentation is induced in bottle by adding liquor de tirage. Liquor de tirage is mixture of equal amount of sugar and yeast. Secondary fermentation starts in bottle, about 6 weeks after liquor de tirage is added. This is best carried out at 10 to 12 degrees Celsius, and takes 3 to 6 months to complete. Carbon dioxide generated during secondary fermentation is trapped in bottle. Sediments generated during secondary fermentation are removed by holding the bottles upside down for several months, and then by freezing the neck of the bottle. Later that, sparkling wine is blended to ensure consistency in the quality. After blending, wine is matured to ensure even mixture of all the wines used for blending. Let us discuss about fortified wines. These wines are strengthened by the addition of alcohol, usually brandy. Addition of external alcohol to wine is called as fortification. Fortification is done either during fermentation or after fermentation. Normally, still wines have a strength of 0.5% to 18% alcohol, whereas fortified wines have a strength 17% to 24% alcohol. Steps involved in making fortified wine are similar to that of still wines. It's the fortification that changes quality of the wine and determines type of the wine. Fortification can be done at various stages of winemaking. Mutage. This is the addition of alcohol to fresh grape juice. This prevents fermentation and produces delicate wine. Early fortification. This is the addition of alcohol once fermentation starts. Late fortifications. This is the addition of alcohol after the fermentation is stopped. Wines produced by following above styles show different character from each other. Examples of fortified wines are sherry, port, Madeira, Marsala, and Malaga. Aromatized wines. These wines are flavored and fortified. The most important of these aromatized wines is vermouth, which made from neutral white wines of 2 to 3 years old, and blended with an extract of wormwood. Vermouth is the name from the German word Wermut, which means wormwood. Vanilla and various other herbs and spices are also used. Popular brands are Martini, Centeno, Neuilly Prat, and Barbero. After studying various types of wines and their making, let us study wind diseases. These are the attacks on grape plant by insects or by environmental conditions, which might destroy the grapes, and thus may spoil the wine. Phylloxera. Grape plants have no resistance to phylloxera. These are small yellow insects, which puncture the roots of whin plant. The larvae stick to the roots and stack the sap which kills the vine root. Odium. This is also known as powdery mildew. This forms patches of dusty mold on the grapes and leaves, causing the grape to split and shriveled. Can be treated simply dusting sulfur powder. Gray rot. This can be harmful or helpful. In most regions, and at certain time of year, it is produced in humid conditions. It is a gray mold, which destroys color pigmentation in black grapes and gives an unpleasant taste to wine. Treatment: anti-rot spraying, allow air to freshen and fan the vines in very hot weather. Noble rot. It is the same fungus which causes noble rot. But in this condition it shows its beneficent form. Noble rot may occur when humid conditions are followed by hot weather. The fungus punctures the grape skin, the water content evaporates and the grapes shrivel, thus concentrating the sugar inside. This process gives luscious flavors to wine, which is the characteristic of some wine-producing regions. Now let us talk something about wine and food harmony. Wines are best enjoyed with the food that can match with the flavors of wine. Serving food with suitable wine requires good knowledge of food and wine both. Matching wine with food is called as wine and food harmony or wine and food pairing. Here are general guidelines to pair wine with food. As a beginner, one might get helped if following facts are considered. First of all, cheese is the traditional accompaniment of wine. But before serving any cheese with wine, one must check the compatibility of that type of cheese with the wine chosen. White wine should be served with white meat, such as fowl or fish. Red wine should be served with red meat, such as game. Sweet wine should be served with desserts and puddings. However, these are traditional guidelines, and thus there are exceptions. The main aim while matching should be compatibility and balance of flavor of food and wine. Accompaniments of wine. Apart from food, wine many times is enjoyed at its own. For example, a guest can come to a bar and simply order a bottle of red or a white wine. At such times, there are certain specific food stuffs which can be served as accompaniment of wine. Cheese is the traditional and most appreciated accompaniment of wine. Along with cheese, pineapple, pickled olives, or even certain appetizers can also be served. Along with suitable, there are certain foods which cannot be served with wine, such as chocolate. If any unsuitable food is served with wine, kill the flavor and aroma of wine, leaving behind a watery experience. For example, artichokes, asparagus, chocolate, eggs, soy sauce, etc. These are just few to name. Like above, there are many other foods that don't match with the beauty of wine, and thus should be avoided serving with wine. These are some basics of wine one must study before diving deep into the world of wine. That's it for this chapter. See you soon for the next chapter. Thank you.